welcome to the Doe Show, everybody. Happy Thursday? Yeah, feels like Tuesday, but it's Thursday. Welcome, welcome. I'm Dustin Tibbetts, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth Managers. This is a daily show that we do, usually daily, to try to help you with your dough in any way that we can. We're financial advisors, so we try to teach along the way. If your advisor's not teaching you or showing you what we're about to show you today, or even just knows your name, maybe you'll check us out at jazzwealth.com. Well, here's the good news. What I'm about to share with you, I'm going to keep really short, and then you never have to watch me again, because this is the best that I have to offer. I have nothing else that's any better than what we're about to cover today. And I want you to share this with people too, the video or just the knowledge if you happen to learn something from this. Here's the deal. When you get started investing, that's the hardest time, right? Because you don't see much happen. You're putting money in, you have a smaller balance, and you've got this little fluctuation in your account. You're like, that's not a big deal. Who cares? When you're 5 years into it, you're like, okay, I've saved up a decent amount of money here, but it still doesn't feel like much. I see what I need versus what I have. It doesn't feel like much. However, when you get into the 10-year mark and so on, that's when you really get it. And I want to illustrate this for you as clearly as I can. So I'll try to do this really, really quickly here for you. Okay, here's what we're going to do. This all leads up to a class that we're doing tonight for our customers. It's called Wine and Wealth, where we're going to talk about their number, how we come up with their retirement number. What I'm about to show you, I do for every one of our customers so that they know how much they need to save to get to whatever goal it is. If you want to see what classes we do for our customers, they are on our website. You just click on events, okay? All right, here we go. Seriously, this is it. It gets no better than what this is. He's got it. So you can unsubscribe, you can walk away, never look at me again, because this is all I got. All right, ready? Here we go. We're going to do a quick study. Don't mind the numbers and gibberish at the moment. We are going to see off to the left-hand side of your screen there, Miss Jazzy Investor. We're going to pretend she's 30 years old. She wants to retire at 65, so we've got a 35-year window there. That's nice. And she has told me, let's say she's just started here at Jazz, and she says, when I retire, I'd like to have $50,000 a year in income in today's dollars, today's purchasing power. I know that in the future, obviously with inflation, 50,000 will be a much larger number, but I want the purchasing power of $50,000 a year for my retirement. She's going to use Roth-based investments, Roth IRAs, her Roth 401k, post-tax type investments or investment accounts. She's also told me here, if you're following down the list, that she has no other income, no rental properties. She doesn't think she's going to get Social Security. She's got no annuities or royalties or anything coming in, so she's going to live 100% off of her retirement investments. We are going to anticipate that inflation is going to be an average of 3% a year. However, stay with me, we're going to factor that in each year as we go. See, a lot of people, when they come up with their guesstimates of what you need for retirement, they guess as to what inflation is. That's not good, right? We like to account for inflation as we go. That way, if it's high one year, well, you account for it in the year you make your contributions. A much tighter end result if you do that. We're going to assume she has a 7% net average annual return after all costs, fees, transactions, anything she decides to spend money on. 7% is the average return, which is more than acceptable for a 30-year-old. This number is actually quite low, so don't challenge me in the comments. I'll hit you back with the stats. Okay, we are also going to assume that she came to us or wherever and said, I've got $10,000. I've already started investing. I've got my Roth IRA, $10,000 set up, so this is my starting point. Okay. Basically, what we do is we work out the whole number for her, and I'm going to tell her you need to invest $9,346.70 across your accounts in your first year. So year number one of you starting aggressively to go for this, maybe some goes in a Roth IRA, some of it goes in your Roth 401k at work, and that's what you're going to have to start with. Now in this example, we're increasing her contributions by 3%. Are you still with me? Hopefully, hopefully I didn't lose it yet. We're going to anticipate we're going to raise her contributions by 3% because of inflation. That number is flexible. If inflation is only 2%, we'll adjust by 2% and raise it from there. But as far as being a static calculation, to just show you an example, we used 3%. Now, I want you to notice something. I can use my thing here. You've actually got $9,346.70 in the first year. Actually, don't use that box. I need that box. Sorry, so you're going to contribute $9,346 in year number one, and that means If we say 7% growth, and it actually happened in the first year, I get it, the markets fluctuate, but if we just use a linear example here, your growth for the year was $1,354. That's nice, but it's not that impressive, right? Because you don't see it all in one shot. If you gave someone $9,346 and they then said, here's your $9,000 back plus an additional $1,300, that would be impressive. But the fact that you don't see it all in one shot makes this sort of not that impressive. So in year number 1, her total savings would now be a total of $20,700. She had growth of $1,354.27. Look off to the right a little bit more there. Sorry, the right. For every $100 that she invested throughout the year, out of the $9,346, she made $1,449. That's not that impressive. I mean, it's nice, right? But for every $100, that's exactly how things went here. Let's go back to that in a minute. So let's keep going down the list here. I want you to notice the most important part of the entire study here, which is all the way down here at age number 41. At age 41, she's going to make $12,561 in contributions to her Roth 401k, wherever it may be. Her growth now outpaces her contribution, right? So for every dollar she put in, she got just over $1 back. That's when you really notice this, because as you're contributing to your retirement, now as you're contributing, you're starting to see the duplicate effect of your growth. That's where most people 11 years into it start to notice a significant difference, right? Because you're growing faster than you can contribute. That's awesome. However, those of you that bail out and say, well, I just need to cash out, man, or the markets scare me, or I don't want to invest anymore, anywhere in the first 11 years, you are really doing yourself a disservice, right? Because you're never going to get to that point where your dollars going in are outmatched by the dollars that you grow by, assuming a linear growth pattern here, which of course is not going to be the case. Now, look what happens from here. As you go not only 8 years later, you don't have to wait another 11 years. This is your compound interest working for you. As you go 8 years later, now every dollar you put in, you have $2 worth of growth, right? So you put $1 in, and by the end of the year, well, 15, 9, 12 is the total amount you're putting in, but you're growing by almost $33,000. That's only 8 years later. If I can continue going down the list here, you have 6 years later where every dollar you put in returns 3 times the growth, right? So now your efforts really are starting to look sort of insignificant. I'm not saying that $19,000 here at the age of 55 is insignificant, but as you're putting it in, you're getting 3 times the growth. Then you go 5 years later, 4 times the growth, and right before retirement, 4 years later, you are getting 5 times the growth that you are putting in. Every dollar you put in is equivalent to $5 in returns. How cool is that, right? So that's the basic sort of, snowballing, I guess. Is that a word? So that you can see how your account grows. Now, when we get to retirement, over here to the left, she said, Mrs. Jazzy Investor wanted $50,000 a year in income. Well, she's actually going to pull out $140,693, which in the year that she turns 65 will be the equivalent of $50,000 in today's dollars. I'm telling you right now, the way most people calculate this, there's too much room for error. There's too much probability that inflation is higher or lower, your growth is higher or lower, your withdrawal rate is higher or lower. I just dislike the way a lot of people sort of put this thing together. So what we do, just like I showed you there, we account for inflation along the way. We can adjust the growth rate as you take less and less risk. Naturally, I'm not that smart with spreadsheets, right? So naturally what happens is over your lifetime, you're going to take less and less risk, and so your growth rate may change. Of course, we can adjust for that along the way, but those are the kind of things that we try to put together here for you. So the most important thing you could ever possibly learn is that you got to wait 11 years from the time that you start investing. If you're investing consistently towards your goals, I don't care if it's for retirement or you just like investing in general, it's going to take some time. But when you hit that 11-year mark, I did a video on this in the past, that's when you see dollar for dollar, right? When you go 8 years further, that's where you see $1 and you make $2. You then go 6 years, 5 years, and 4 years on there. That's where you see this thing really start to build up steam. You do not get the same, I should have done this for high interest savings accounts. What happens if 2% was your only return? How many years until it actually grow more than what you put into your savings account? So I hope you enjoyed that. It was rather lengthy amount of work to put together, but I like the idea of people being able to visualize when their money grows and how aggressively it can grow. I love it. You got a Muslim. You got a spreadsheet, 3% inflation, 8% return. Cool. Yeah, you could certainly do that. We use 5.5% after retirement for most people. It just depends on that. We're going to cover that tonight in our Wine and Wealth class, of course, but perfect. You want the option to change the return for performance? Yeah, I've already mentioned, so perfect. So as you, obviously, as you age, you're going to scale back a little bit. That's perfect. And by the way, I don't believe in that 4% withdrawal rule because that assumes that you're trying to figure out a dollar amount that you need. Do not try to figure out a dollar amount that you need in retirement. Go from an income standpoint because then you can factor in how many years you want to live. In this example here, we're assuming that this Mrs. Jazzy investor was going to live to be 88 years old. So if she needs $50,000 a year in today's dollars, right? So we know it's 140. If she needs that, now we can stretch it out and go, can she live to 88 and run out of money on Christmas Eve when after the year she turns 88? I love that so much more because then we can play with ideas. If you think, I'll live until I'm 95 or I want to plan for that, we can adjust that way. I don't like that 4% withdrawal rule too much in the way of variables there. Look, customers want me to be specific. I can't get people to retirement and then go, gosh, I'm sorry. I estimated this would be the case, but it wasn't. That you can see how we would naturally have very negative reviews if we did that. Okay, perfect. So that's really it. I'll answer questions now if you like, but I wanted to just kind of get the bulk of that out of the way. So we'll see. What? You had the idea last night of contributing and invest like $200,000 after retirement, regress to plan for others. Yeah, now so naturally everybody's going to be different. This is just an example. I have customers that go against the grain and they are older, closer to retirement and still want to be aggressive. We've talked about it, and that's because they have other assets. They're able to be aggressive. If you like most people and you're kind of using your retirement, we're going to scale back that your risk level or your growth rate there. So of course, the market, we'll cover the market later on the closing beat for sure. Yes, Keys. For my withdrawal, I used current spending patterns, then pushed in the retirement age, adding 3% a year. Love it, man. I love it. Isn't that the beauty of it? Like you can budget for yourself. And so you can plan as how you want to spend in the future. I love it. I love it. I love it. You guys talking bonds there already? All right, we'll cover that later today in the closing beat. I hope you enjoyed it. If for some reason it helped you, maybe you'll hit the subscribe button. If your advisor is not either paying attention to you, doesn't have the time for you, you're not big enough for him, know that we're here for you. I am still keeping it where we'll work with anybody, right? So a lot of advisors out there are busy answering calls from customers like, oh, what's going on with this market? Know that we've already educated our customers. We've walked everybody through this before it happened. So, I have time for you. Anyways, okay, that's all I have for you. We will be back later for the closing beat. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you soon.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.